And so I cover those three issues. And in the conclusion of the book, what I focus on are what I think are hopeful signs of moderation and rejection of the margins. And we're already seeing this more and more. Even since I've put this book to bed, we've seen increasing signs of a rejection of the more extremists on both sides and a moving toward the middle. Particularly, I think, one, a rejection of a lot of these atheists. They made a splash when they first came out with their books, but I think a lot of people are now seeing that the emperor has few clothes and that these do not provide a belief system or lack of belief system in which to order and to give purpose to one's life. And the other is those, particularly in this country, who are on the most extreme right religiously, are starting to move from some of their key issues that have split them off from the rest of the religious community and are embracing larger issues of creation care, of AIDS in Africa, of economic justice. And it's not just the 3 Gs of God, gays, and guns anymore. They're able to finally embrace some of these other issues. And I think that's very, very important. Like any good clergy person, or any, and I'm not equating myself with this, but any hero of a Joseph Campbell monomyth, this book in my rabbinic mission is not about just experiencing this as myself. I guess every clergy person does this to a certain extent. You have an experience, you have a connection with God, and you seek to share that experience and to hopefully inspire other people's journey in achieving that experience beyond the self. And I absolutely am hoping to do that. I have a chapter in here, I'm not going to read it, or a passage in here that talks about where I first found transcendence. I remember distinctly being in 6th grade at a Reformed Jewish camp in the Santa Cruz Mountains. And the Sabbath, Shabbat, was kind of the key moment where we focused and experienced spirituality in a very adult way. We experienced transcendence in an adult way. It was a combination of a lot of different elements. It was everyone dressed in white that evening. We gathered together on this beautiful lawn underneath these large coastal redwoods at twilight in concentric circles, arm in arm, singing Jewish songs, in Hebrew, which for us were some of the only times we experienced these kinds of prayers and these kinds of sentiments from our tradition, and went in and had a chicken dinner together. Chicken's a big thing for Shabbat, for Friday nights for Jews. Chicken, green beans, and carrot cake. That was the camp fare. And then afterward, having these incredibly raucous song sessions where, as if they were at a rock concert, they are singing Jewish songs and understanding the values that are most of the time, understanding the values that lie beneath those songs. That, to me, was a powerful, transcendent experience, and many of us, and I bet my rabbinic colleagues in the back could attest to this as well, many of us became rabbis, not out of our experiences in synagogues in the 70s, but out of our experiences at camps, and out of our experiences where we immerse ourselves in these moments. And in so many ways, a little bit of true confession here, in so many ways, what I seek to do in the rabbinate is to recreate that experience I've had for other people in myriad different ways. The last thing I want to leave you with before we have a couple respondents is someone once mentioned that what I'm seeking to do is to inspire people to have a Wizard of Oz moment. And what's that Wizard of Oz moment? That at the very end you click your heels and there's no place like home, and you realize that you searched and you journeyed and you went through Munchkin Land and the flying monkeys and everything else, and at the end you were home the whole time. What you were seeking was right in front of you. A quick story from Jewish tradition. There once was a very impoverished man named Jacob who lived in a one-room shack with his wife and his family. And he had a big, black, pot-belly stove that heated his house, not very well, particularly on cold winter nights. And Jacob struggled. Once in a while, he'd get a few coins together and have a nice Shabbat dinner, a nice Sabbath dinner on Friday night, but oftentimes his family barely scraped by. And one day he had a dream. And in this dream, a messenger came to him. And the messenger said, he lived in the Czech countryside or Bohemian countryside. If you go to Prague and you go to the Prague castle, as you approach the bridge, go underneath the bridge, and there beneath will be a treasure beyond your wildest imagination. Jacob woke up from this dream, and it was like one of those dreams where once you wake up, you realize it wasn't real. It felt real. It felt like he had just been in the room speaking to this man, and it struck him. It exorcised him to such a degree that he had to tell his wife about it, and he even had to make a trip to Prague. He said, you call me crazy, I need to go to Prague. This dream spoke to me. I need to follow it. And so Jacob makes his way to Prague, and he walks toward the castle, and he gets to the bridge that goes over the water that goes into the Prague castle, and he walks down beneath the bridge, and he's looking around, and all he sees is muck and mud, a few river rats, very uninspiring, really not as nice as it was in his dream. And as he's searching, there's a guard on top of the bridge who says, "You down there, what are you doing? Come up here immediately." It was an armed guard. Jacob followed directions, and so Jacob went back up to the guard. And the guard said, "What do you mean skulking around the palace gate like this? You're not allowed to do that." And Jacob said, "Forgive me, I know you're going to think this is nuts. But I live in the countryside, and I had a dream that I was supposed to come to Prague, come to this bridge, dig beneath, and find an incredible treasure." And the guard laughed and said, Dreams are ridiculous. No one listens to dreams. If I listened to my dreams, I would go out to the countryside and go to the home of some poor guy named Jacob and look under the stove in his kitchen and there find a treasure." And Jacob said, "What?" He immediately ran home, went to his shack, moved aside, when it was cool of course, the pot-belly stove, and there found a treasure. It was a treasure that had been beneath his feet, beneath his nose, within his grasp the entire time, if he had but had the eyes and heart to see it. Thank you very much. What I'd like to do now is to take a few minutes to have two of our colleagues offer some comments in response. We'll take a few questions, and then we'll make our way downstairs for a working lunch, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But first, Rebecca McLean, the Canon Missionary